All right, let's dive in. You know, if you think Domino's is just a pizza company, you're missing the entire picture. To really understand them, you have to see them not as a restaurant, but as a high-frequency tech and logistics platform. And today, we're going to deconstruct the very architecture that powers their dominance.
And just to get a sense of the scale we're talking about, think about this one single fact. A few years back, Domino's was the second largest e-commerce retailer in the entire United States based on the sheer number of transactions. The only company ahead of them? Amazon.
Yeah. So that brings us to the central question. And it's not about the product, it's about the system. How in the world did a company selling, let's be honest, a commodity good, achieve the kind of dominance we see with tech platforms? Well, the answer is in a series of really smart, totally counterintuitive decisions that flip the traditional restaurant model on its head.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at their identity as a tech company in disguise. Then, we'll get into their logistics-first model, unpack the battle they fought for customer data, peek inside their algorithmic kitchen, and finally, we'll see how it all comes together in their closed-loop economy.
Okay, section 1, a tech company in disguise. So the foundational idea here is that Domino's doesn't really act like a food company. It operates much more like a software company that's deploying what you might call a physical operating system.
And the numbers, they don't lie. A whopping 75% of Domino's global sales across more than 20,000 stores come through digital channels. And this isn't just some website for taking orders. It's a high-frequency last-mile optimization engine. The pizza, it's just the data packet being delivered.
And that right there is the core flip in their entire model. Domino's isn't really in the business of selling pizza. They're in the business of selling the elimination of friction. They figured out that in a market where the product is basically the same everywhere, the only real advantage is having a superior logistics and user experience.
Which brings us perfectly to our second section, the logistics-first paradigm. This is where Domino's actually inverted the product itself. They prioritize the science of delivery over the art of cooking, and they literally weaponize geometry to build a competitive moat that's almost impossible to cross. They do this with a brilliant tactic they call the fortressing strategy. Now, instead of expanding into new territory, they deliberately pack more stores into areas they already serve. It sounds crazy, right? But by shrinking the delivery zones, delivery times plummet. That means one driver can do more deliveries per hour, which drives down the cost for each delivery. It creates this network density that third-party apps with their unpredictable gig workers just can't compete with on a structural level.
And all that density makes their big goal possible, Project 310. The mission? Get a pizza ready in 3 minutes and have it delivered in under 10. The 3-minute prep time isn't about cutting corners on the recipe though. No, it's a masterpiece of industrial engineering. They use what they call cockpit ergonomics, where an employee can assemble a whole pizza without taking a single step. It's all about minimizing human delay.
And the backbone holding this whole machine together is their vertical supply chain. By owning their own supply centers, Domino's has a monopoly on the most important ingredients for their franchisees, especially the dough. This gives them two critical advantages their rivals just don't have. One, a quality control kill switch to make sure every pizza is consistent. And two, a way to protect their franchisees from price hikes and inflation.
Okay, on to section 3. The war for customer data. This was, and I'm not exaggerating, probably the most important strategic decision Domino's made in the last decade. They made a calculated choice to refuse, absolutely refuse, to give up ownership of their customer data to third-party apps like DoorDash or Uber Eats.
I mean, this just lays out the trade-off perfectly. While all their competitors were outsourcing their digital storefronts, Domino's played defense. They kept 100% of their margin, they avoided the chaos of the gig economy, and, this is the most important part, they chose to own their customer relationship for life, instead of just renting it. And the prize for making that decision? It's not just a mailing list of 30 million people. No, what they built is a predictive engine. This massive database allows Domino's to forecast demand store by store and feed that information right back into their supply chain and their employee schedules.
So it all comes down to this key principle: data sovereignty. By owning what we call the identity layer, Domino's controls its own destiny. They're not at the mercy of some other platform's fees or algorithm changes. They're in the driver's seat.
All right, let's move on to section 4 and see how this data-first mindset plays out on the ground floor. We're talking about the algorithmic kitchen, an environment that's designed from top to bottom for one thing: the complete elimination of human error and variability.
Their internal technology basically acts like a central nervous system. You've got the pulse system, which figures out the perfect order to make pizzas to sync up with driver arrivals. Then there's the Dom Pizza Checker, an AI camera that actually grades every pizza for quality. And of course, the Pizza Tracker, which is just a brilliant piece of psychological engineering. It takes the most annoying part of ordering food, the wait, and turns it into an engaging experience.
So the goal here is crystal clear. Turn food prep from a craft, which can be inconsistent, into a high-precision manufacturing process that is run by an algorithm. It's basically classic factory efficiency applied to fast food. It de-skills the labor so that you're guaranteed to get the exact same pizza from any Domino's anywhere in the world.
And that brings us to our final section, the closed-loop economy. This is where we tie everything together, the tech, the logistics, the data, and see how they create a financial engine that basically feeds itself, a perpetual motion machine.
Let's break this engine down. First, they run on negative working capital. They get your cash instantly, but they pay their suppliers later. That creates a constant stream of cash, a float, that they use to fund R&D. Second, they use that cash for aggressive share buybacks, which drives up their earnings per share and gives their stock that tech company-like valuation. And third, the franchises themselves are incredibly profitable, which makes it easy to keep expanding the network.
So when you combine that fortressing strategy with this financial power, you get something we can only call a spatial monopoly. Because their model is all about delivery, they don't need expensive storefronts. They can use cheap, dark kitchen real estate. This lets them build out a dense neighborhood network that is just way too expensive for any competitor to even think about copying.
And when you look at the whole system, the logistics, the data, the real estate, the finances, you realize something pretty profound. Domino's isn't really competing with Pizza Hut anymore. They're competing with the physics of the city itself.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? I think it's this. In our modern digital age, the companies with the most lasting advantage are the ones who can do both things perfectly. They master the heavy assets of the real world, the kitchens, the supply chains, the delivery cars, while at the same time completely owning the light assets of the digital world, the data, the apps, and the algorithms.